In this video, I'll talk about what is fueling the recent dramatic rise in new and used car prices and also why some vehicles are so hard to find. And we're starting right now. Hey guys, welcome to another video from the Keystone Financial Academy. My name is Elliot, and if you're in the market for a new or used car, you're probably not going to be too surprised to hear that prices have risen dramatically this year, along with demand for new and used cars and trucks. In this video, I'll take a look at the reasons why and discuss what you can do about it. Alright, let's get this going, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and find it useful, please do consider subscribing to the channel, helps me out a lot, and don't forget to smash that like button. It would be an understatement to say that we are in a very strange car market right now. New car inventory is getting pretty thin, while used vehicles, when they can be found, have actually gone up in price, where some models are worth just as much now as they were a few years ago, which is unheard of. What's going on here is classic supply and demand. There's a surge in demand for cars and trucks, and a severe shortage of these vehicles across the board, hence the scarcity and the price spikes. Let's take these problems one at a time and then discuss what you can do if you're in the market for a vehicle. So as far as demand, what exactly is pushing it up? Well, for starters, many consumers held off making major purchases such as vehicles during the height of the pandemic, as there was a lot of across-the-board concerns about job security and general financial uncertainty. As things started to look up this year, there was a lot of pent-up demand for vehicles that people wanted to buy a year ago, but just didn't want to pull the trigger on until the economic uncertainty of the pandemic eased up a bit. Helping things along, much like how it was with real estate, are the record low interest rates. As most people finance their car purchase, the interest rate is a big factor here, and today's ultra-low interest rate started to lure more buyers off the sidelines to take on an inexpensive car loan. Adding to this were manufacturer and dealer incentives such as 0% financing and other offers and perks such as home pickup and delivery, all intended to draw customers back into buying mode. Also, extensive government stimulus payments put a lot of cash in people's pockets, which many have decided to repurpose in order to buy a car or truck. Finally, there's been a lot of demands in the truck, SUV, and electric vehicle segments, which underscores that demand is not equal between all the different types of vehicles, and it's much more extreme in certain segments. So this is the current situation with demand, and it's worth pointing out that if you take a look at the entire automotive industry worldwide, the demand, while certainly higher, is not significantly higher. So the real problem lies with supply, and that's what I'm going to take a look at next. On the supply side, we have a number of issues, but the biggest one of all is the shortage of computer chips. For better or for worse, today's cars are rolling laboratories of electrical components that power infotainment and safety systems, and all of these are controlled by microprocessors similar to what you have in your home computer, but modified for automotive use. What happened was, in 2020, as demand dropped because of the pandemic, automakers and chip makers all shut down production and canceled orders, anticipating a prolonged downturn in demand. And this in turn caused chip inventory to drop rather quickly, as available chips were repurposed to other uses where demand continued to be high, such as video games and cell phones. Well, as demand in cars suddenly and unexpectedly spiked up, chip makers were caught with their pants down and quickly had to readjust and ramp up production once again. Add to that the occurrence of a fire at a major Japanese chip making plant and various other COVID-19 related distribution delays, and you have a recipe for disaster, as thousands of vehicles were sidelined at auto plants and couldn't be sold due to the missing chips. The new cars that were still sitting on dealership lots were just unsold stock, and with high demand and little new cars coming in, new car prices began to climb, with dealers pretty much phasing out incentives or any rebates. So how do used car prices fit into the picture? Well, used car prices also spiked because new cars not being readily available, trade-ins weren't happening that much, and customers were going for used cars as an alternative, creating a good old-fashioned shortage. As a result, the average listing price for a used vehicle in 2021 was running some 22% 40% higher than 2020 and 2019 levels, which was the highest rate of increase that automotive site Edmunds.com has ever tracked. Who knew that used cars could be an appreciating asset? So the bottom line here can be boiled down to two words: low inventory. New car inventory is low and used car inventory is low. And if you think you're just competing with other consumers, think again. Car rental companies sold off their fleet to stay afloat during the pandemic-related downturn in travel, and are now trying to buy up whatever they can as travel starts to pick up dramatically. So is there some good news in all of this? Well, actually there is. Automakers and chip makers are working together to get the chips back into production and deployment, and automakers are prioritizing scarce chips for more in-demand models, so at least there isn't a shortage of those. And over the long term, there is some government effort right now making its way through Congress to encourage domestic automotive chip production. It's expected that inventory should start to stabilize in the coming months as summer 2021 turns into fall and winter. A lot of vehicles are in fact already manufactured, they're just sitting around waiting for the chips and a few other components that are directly tied to them, so a quick retrofit is all that will be needed to get these models right into the market. In the meantime, if you need to get a vehicle in the coming months, what can you do? One suggestion is to be flexible in what you want. The vehicle shortage is not the same across the board, with some manufacturers being hit more than others. The American manufacturers are certainly in some pretty bad shape right now, with Ford being hit the hardest and having to sideline hundreds of thousands of trucks and cars. Also, stay flexible with models. As I mentioned earlier, even the American manufacturers were able to get some of the more mainstream models to market by prioritizing which ones get the scarce chips, so this may not be a good time to be dead set on that more obscure model from a particular manufacturer, and it may be better to shop the usual best sellers. The best thing you can do, however, is just sit tight and wait this one out. Manufacturers have a very strong incentive to smooth out the automotive markets and restore equilibrium. Inflated prices and shortages don't do them any favors, as less people will purchase their vehicles and they all work on volume sales. It's expected that inventory will take the rest of this year to fully restore, and we should be entering 2022 with adequate supply. And already as of mid-August 2021, we're seeing far slower growth in car prices and even price cuts for certain models, so the tide is definitely starting to turn. If you can wait it out for another 6 months, things should be a lot better. Alright, so that's the latest on car prices and car inventories, and if you enjoyed this video and found it useful, please consider subscribing to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos just like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.